Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Influential Women Podcast. I have the honor of having Miss Shanna Farmer here today. Welcome.
Thank you, Jenny. It is such an honor to be here.
Oh, she's a big deal in our Pueblo community, and I'm excited to finally have her here. So, Miss Shanna, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am very fortunate to be the president and CEO for United Way of Pueblo County.
Whoop, whoop.
Yes, it's an organization that just has my heart in a community that I love and I've grown up in. And I couldn't think of a better, more rewarding position I could have.
I remember when you got that job, and I was actually at the luncheon where you did your acceptance speech, because Andrea Aragon, big shoes to fill. But my favorite thing about your speech, and I don't remember a lot of speeches, was that you're like, I'm going to bring my own pair of shoes and create my own footprints or something along those lines. And I was like, that was well said. Like, I love that. And you've been killing it since you've been there. How long have you been in this position now?
Well, thank you, Jenny. So I have been here since October of 2019.
Okay. And how are things going, especially through a pandemic and whatnot?
Yeah, so 5 months in on the job and then COVID hit. So as you can imagine, it has been constantly pivoting and reimagining things, which I think are words we've heard throughout the pandemic. We've all had to do those things, but it's going well. And it's been a challenging year, but very rewarding. Mm-hmm. And I can't think of a better community to have, weathered this storm in. And we've had incredible support. And we've been able to do a lot of really, really good things to support our community as well.
That is awesome. And fundraising, obviously, that's a big part of your goal and your mission and what you guys do. How is fundraising going this year?
Yeah, we've had to get creative. I mean, certainly, our workplace giving campaign has been the heart and soul of our fundraising efforts for since United Way started. And so with so many folks, being laid off, losing their jobs, uncertainty, certainly has been, nerve-wracking for a lot of people. But what I will say is so many people have been extra generous because they know that they need to help others through this, and it's absolutely inspiring.
That is so fantastic.
Yeah, and it really just speaks, again, to the heart of our community.
Mm-hmm. Has there been a story yet that has just touched your heart where you're like, I'm making a difference?
There are so many, but the mentoring program, the middle school mentoring program that we have through United Way, which I know you and your husband have both been very supportive of, and we have just so many great stories, but it's those kids who you see just blossom. Mm-hmm. And they are, come in as very shy kids, really needing that extra support. And then the stories of, one of my favorites is the girl came into the program and she was really struggling in school and with family. She had a lot of things working against her, very shy. And by the end of it, she was running for student body president and won.
Quit it.
Yes. So by 8th grade, she's student body president of her school.
Oh my goodness. What a success story. You don't hear them like that. That is fantastic. So tell me a little bit about the mentoring program and how somebody can get involved.
Yeah. So it's the middle school mentoring program. So we work with both District 60 and 70. There are certain schools that the program is in, and students are identified as needing a mentor. And so we then pair them with a mentor in the community. So outstanding leaders like yourself and Matt and so many others that have worked with our program. And so if anyone's interested, all the info is on our website at pueblounitedway.org.
That is awesome. And what did you do before United Way?
Yeah, so I'll go back just a little bit.
Tell me a little bit about you.
I've had kind of an interesting career journey, but it really all kind of led me, and I feel, to where I am today. So I CSU Pueblo graduate.
Whoop, whoop, go Pack.
That's right, go Pack, and graduated from there. While I was still in school there, I started working for a congressman here, and so I worked in the local regional office. I was about 20 years old when I got that job, and so really exciting. I had a passion for the political world. I'd been working and volunteering in it and continued to do that for several years after graduation. Of course, anytime you work in the political world, the political winds will shift and things change, and so I then had the opportunity to move into higher education. And so I worked at CSU Pueblo on a grant focused on increasing access to graduate education And during this time, I finished my master's degree. And so that was a really, really great role, especially just as I was coming out of graduate school and being able to help others here at CSU Pueblo. And as I mentioned, it was a grant. And so all great grants come to an end. And so I worked at Colorado College for about a year and a half after that. But my heart and my home and my passion was here in Pueblo. And so I worked really hard to find the right fit to come back. And I was still, like I said, living here, but again, working in Colorado Springs. And it was a great opportunity, great campus, but it was time to come home. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, I was able to take a job at Catholic Charities.
Awesome.
And so I started out there working on managing all the grants and contracts, and then ultimately moved into the Director of Advancement position, overseeing the grants, the fundraising, the PR, all that great stuff to bring in the resources.
That is awesome. And you're still currently at CSU Pueblo, correct?
I am. So I get to be an adjunct faculty member for the President's Leadership Program, which is a program that I was in as a student and loved, and minored in leadership. And my master's is in organizational leadership. And
well, it just makes sense that you're the CEO of United Way then.
It was a great fit, and I just love teaching. I love the students. I know you get to work with several of my former students, mm-hmm. and it's so incredibly rewarding. And so every fall, I teach the junior class.
Oh my gosh, what an honor. That is a cool job. You know, I wish I would have known about that in college, because that would have been my cup of tea.
Oh, man. And there are some, you went to UNC, right?
For 2 years, and then I graduated from CSU Pueblo.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool. So there are awesome leadership programs at both of those campuses, and there's even a statewide network. And so, yeah, for anyone who is up and coming in their college career, definitely check out the leadership programs at your school.
And so, are you from Pueblo?
I am.
Okay, next question is...
Where did I go to high school?
Yes!
I am a South Colt.
You're South Colt. Okay.
Yes.
And what is your why?
You know, my why has always been driven by wanting to give back and wanting to help others. And I've really thought about, where did that come from? And it came from certainly my parents and grandparents who instilled that in me. But when I was 9 years old, we had a house fire and we lost everything. We lost everything except what we walked out wearing that day.
Oh.
And including a couple of our pets. We actually had a couple survive. And so I will never forget that day. We were standing outside the house after we had come back home. We were all gone for work and school that day. And a neighbor, one we actually didn't even know that well, she walked up and handed the keys to her house to my mom. And she said, "Come over and make yourself at home." And that right there, just, you know, if it wasn't for the kindness of strangers and also our family, and thank goodness for insurance, but that doesn't always kick in right away, you know, where would we have been without that support? You know, we moved in with a family member for some time after that until the house could be rebuilt. And so it's that really fuels me. That,
oh my gosh, to go through that as a 9-year-old.
Yeah, it was hard. And, you know, it also showed, you know, the kindness that is around us, and also what really matters. You know, we were all okay. And I remember the fire department had said that had it happened in the middle of the night, we might not have been, because that was back in the day when, you know, everything was hardwired. And so the fire alarm actually was completely just zapped, and it probably never would have went off. So very grateful. So I learned a lot of gratitude at a very young age.
Absolutely. And what advice would you give yourself, you know, as an 18-year-old or as a 9-year-old that you didn't know back then that you know today?
Ooh, that's a great question. And I think at both of those points in my life, I hadn't necessarily figured out that I wanted to be in the nonprofit work, or do nonprofit work and be in the nonprofit field. So I think that, you know, knowing more about maybe where that journey was going to go, although I feel that my journey was meant to be what it was.
Right.
So I think just, you know, being open to opportunity, and you never know where you're going to have those moments of your why, finding your why, or finding opportunities that really lead you to where you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. And you feel like you're exactly where you need to be.
I do. I really do. And I think there's a lot of work to be done. You know, as you mentioned, Andrea Aragon left such an incredible legacy. I was really nervous to come on, you know, after her. because there was no way anyone was going to fill those shoes. So let's just let her keep her shoes, and I'm bringing my own.
Yes, that's
just
what
like
it
you
was.
said.
I
Yes,
love that.
and a different kind of shoe, and and let's do this in a way that makes sense for the next several years, many years. I know she dedicated 17 years to United Way, and I'm so grateful for what she created, and I can't wait to see where we are in another 17 years.
That is so awesome. Well, you're a guest here on Influential Women podcast because you are super influential. Who has inspired you to be who you are?
Well, thank you for that, Jenny. I know when you asked me and I saw who you'd already interviewed, I thought, oh my gosh, how do you follow that act? So thank you.
You stop it.
Thank you for including me in that. But I will say, my mom, and I know that's been an answer that comes up over and over again, but it's so true. She was just always very community minded and passionate, and she still is to this day. And, for the longest time, she was very involved in the Pueblo community. So all my life.
What is your mom's name?
Kathy Ames Farmer.
Okay.
And so all my life it was, oh, you're Kathy's daughter. And I just always loved that because everyone loved her. She's just so sweet, and she did so much for the community during her time, working, especially she did a lot with the Pueblo Business Journal when she was the general manager there, and just committed to volunteering and serving with the chambers. And so everyone knew her. And I remember she told me that, the day that things started to change just a little bit when somebody came up and said, oh, you're Shanna's mom.
Oh,
she was so proud.
I love it. I love it. So now she gets, are you Shanna's mom instead of the other way around?
Well, it's both.
Oh, okay.
It's both. To this day, I'll still get, are you Kathy's daughter? Because we certainly have, similar features and the eyes. And, and again, she's just so loved by so many. And I could only hope to be as sweet and wonderful as she's been her entire life.
Well, I think you're pretty sweet and genuine. And so I don't know your mom, but she did an amazing job raising you.
Oh, thank you. She did.
Yeah, absolutely. And what words or what quote do you live by? Any words of advice?
Gosh, there's been so many. I think it's just follow your heart, follow your passions, and, do everything you can to make a difference. I know that's not a quote, but more of kind of an idea, but, there's so much that we're capable of. And so not ever thinking that we can't do something because of where we come from or who we are. We can really achieve a lot by not giving up on ourselves and not selling ourselves short.
Absolutely. I've learned to start challenging yourself in things that, something that you're not used to doing, because when you challenge yourself, you find out what you're capable of. And it's crazy when you see that in yourself, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. So there's my quote, do something that scares you.
There you go. I like it.
Because that's the
Shanna
only time
Farmer.
we grow.
Yeah.
I might have stolen that, but I'll take it. And that's the only time we grow is when we step outside our comfort zone. And so that's exactly what you're saying.
And you said your mom, she was a big volunteer in the community. Why is volunteerism so important?
There are just so many causes and organizations that need help. And so it's really important to be able to give back in your community, which I know you and Matt and your whole family do so much of. And it really matters. It matters to the organizations that you're involved with. It matters to the people who are being helped by those organizations. And, nonprofits can't do what they do without their volunteers. And volunteers make a difference. And on the other kind of side of that coin is volunteering opens your eyes and your heart and your mind to so many different things in the community and opportunities that maybe you never would have even thought of if you wouldn't have dedicated your time. So really important for many reasons.
That is so awesome. And I saw you have a lot of fur babies.
We do. We love to rescue, especially special needs fur babies.
Okay. And what, have you always been an animal lover, or just recently, or?
Yeah, so my whole life I've had animals. Most of the time cats. Always grew up with cats, loved them. From the time I was probably about 7 years old, my mom would help to bottle feed kittens or rescue kittens. And so I think I just grew up with that. My dad loved cats and he would rescue cats. And I remember him taking me to the shelter to, adopt cats and really instilling that, adopt and help them and help those who don't have a voice, which they certainly fall in that. And so as an adult, just have continued that.
How many do you have?
So we have 4 dogs, and then we have a handful of kitties that have different special needs. So we have a blind cat. We have a cat with no eyes. We have 2 cats that have brain damage, and so they walk a little funny. But, at the end of the day, they have no idea that anything is wrong with them. And so we just love them.
I love that. I love that. Do you ever get called the cat lady?
I do. And when I was younger, I thought, oh gosh, I don't want to be known as that. And now I'm like, I wear that badge proudly. People know who to call if they don't know what to do if they find a cat. And I usually can help them connect them to resources or walk them through it. And so I am proud to be known as the crazy cat lady, but I think I'm kind of the crazy cool cat lady is what I like to say.
Oh, I like it. I love it. And, how I got to know you is through Chris Turner, which is a good dear friend of ours. And he invited us to go to Paris for Thanksgiving, during COVID, and then we couldn't go. And you were going to be on that trip, right?
Yes.
You and your husband, Sean. And so, but now we're going to go again this year. So I'm excited to go to Disney with you.
Yes.
Because I hear you're a Disney fan.
Just a little. No, that a little is an understatement. Sean and I are both huge Disney fans, and we cannot wait to experience it with not only the Turners, but the Smith family. That's going to be.
And in Paris?
In Paris.
What?
Amazing.
It's going to be a good time. So what do you love about Disney? Has it been since a young age, or what's your favorite part?
I always grew up watching Disney movies with my family, and, my grandma always had them on at our house when I was there. And even looking back, I've been looking through a lot of family photos lately, and it seems like every shirt I had on was Disney of some kind. Mm-hmm. And then, I always loved it, but I guess I wasn't as, passionate about it for a little while. And then I met Sean in my early 20s, and talk about a Disney fanatic and just a kid at heart. And he really brought that back for me. And so that's kind of been our place. I mean, we got engaged at Disneyland. We had a Disney-themed wedding.
Oh, you're kidding.
So we just have embraced it. Our house is decorated with very cool Disney stuff.
Oh, I love it. And who's your favorite all-time character?
Oh my gosh, that's a hard question.
I know.
I've always been especially drawn to the animal movies. So I love Lion King, the Aristocats, the, Jungle Book. Mm-hmm. Those have always kind of drawn me in, but I don't think I could pick my one favorite. But no.
If you had to take one picture with the character, who would it be?
Oh my gosh. Let's go with Baloo. I'm going to go with Baloo.
Oh,
he's just so cute.
So we watched that this weekend going up to Denver for a football game.
Oh, nice.
And who was it? I don't know, but he said young whippersnapper. And I'm like, maybe that's where I got it from, was that movie.
And you didn't even realize it.
I didn't even realize it. Isn't that crazy?
Yes, he's just
blue.
He's cute. But, of course, all the princesses, I love it all.
Yeah. Paisley turned 6 this summer, and I was asking her this weekend what she wants to do for her birthday. Like, do you want a party? Or I told her about Bippity Boppity Boo, the little princess thing there, and I think that's what she decided she's going to do, is dress up like a princess and have tea with them. Have you ever done that?
No. Apparently, you have to be a certain age to do the Bippity Boppity Boutique.
I think they need to do that for adults.
I do too, because it would be so fun.
Yeah.
We would do it in Paris, right?
We're just going to do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I don't care if it's like a 10-year-old and under requirement.
No, I want the pretty dress and the sparkly hair. They make their hair so pretty, and it's fun. But I have to say, I try to take Disney a little bit. I have a 14-year-old brother. And so when we go out, he gets a little embarrassed because sometimes we'll be out, like we'll be at the zoo and you see a meerkat and you have to sing.
Right.
And he's, he probably thinks that's a little embarrassing. But, I just think some of those, those lessons and that zest for life and fun, we can all learn something from that. So we'll get our Disney hair done together, Jenny.
I love it. Well, I'm totally looking forward to that trip and getting to know your husband, much better too. How long have y'all been married?
So we've been married, it'll be 3 years in June.
Okay.
But we met over 12 years ago.
Oh, wow. So you guys have been together forever.
We have, yeah.
Oh, good.
And that's a fun story.
Well, tell me
Can
about
we
it.
yeah.
I mean, you were engaged at Disney.
We were. So we actually met. I had just graduated college, and I actually graduated early, which I'm glad I did because otherwise this all wouldn't have aligned. And so my mom and I were on a cruise, and he was on a cruise with his family, and we met on a cruise in Mexico.
Quit it.
So yeah, and he lived in San Francisco when we met.
So he's not a Pueblo boy.
He's not.
I love that you made him a Pueblo boy.
Yes, yes. Now he might say he moved here for the real estate, although real estate's gone up a lot in the last few years, but compared to San Francisco, but yeah, he moved here for us.
Oh,
and
I love it.
yeah, so it was fun, fun kind of way we met, and then.
And where did you meet at on the cruise ship? Was it the pool? Was it like a game show night?
Yeah, the first night we met, it was in the piano bar.
Uh-huh. Cool.
And then, lots of different, we danced so many times to the electric slide. We almost had to have that be our song at the wedding because that was sort of the song every time it came on. We were out there dancing to all the line dances, and we just had so much fun, and we went ziplining together, and, and by the end it was like, I kind of like this guy.
Right. I don't want this cruise ship to go back to port. How do we just keep this thing at sea?
Exactly. So he was probably my all-time favorite trip souvenir ever.
Oh, absolutely. You did well.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you seem like such a sweet and positive, genuine human being. What are some of your flaws?
Yeah. There are plenty.
We don't like to talk about them. You know what I'm saying? We always like to focus on the positive things, but sometimes those, our flaws are what makes us our positives too.
Absolutely. No, I am far from perfect. And so, I can be really impatient. Mm-hmm. I
think that's just a woman thing in general.
Okay, so I'm not alone in that. And I can be really particular about how I like things done, and Sean will tell you that. So I definitely have a way that I like to do things, and
a little OCD or a lot.
Yeah. So, which sometimes is really good, but sometimes it can drive him crazy for sure. And so definitely those, and I'm sure he has a list of others, but I try to learn from them, and I try to surround myself with people who can offset my weaknesses. Mm-hmm. And I'm really fortunate, to be able to do that with my team at work and, my partner at home. Mm-hmm. I think we really balance each other out. But yeah, I would say those are probably my two, just being very, very impatient, and, I can get really frustrated sometimes too. So.
Impatient. I don't see you as an impatient person, so I'm glad I haven't had to do that yet, right?
That's right. We'll just no, and I try to go with the flow because I think, again, we have to identify what are our weaknesses, and then how do we address it,
right?
But
or how do we have people help us in those areas too? Like, I'm going to hire this person for this because I definitely can't do that, or whatever it may be.
Exactly. So, and Sean, talking about the right balance with a partner, he's so patient. And so it's sometimes I'm like, you're too patient, but
right. Can you list your patience a couple times so I don't feel so bad? I'm the same way. Matt's very patient. I'm very impatient.
Okay.
But having children has helped that. Like, I have learned a tremendous amount of patience, but before I would just lose my shit.
I bet you have to. And you have 3 absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, precious children, but I'm sure they can test you, right?
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, I'm an impatient person, but I've learned to get better in that. So yeah. So being from Pueblo, what's your go-to meal here?
Yeah. Oh gosh, we have so many good, great places to eat. So I'm a vegetarian. So I love when I can find some good vegetarian green chili because I love anything with green chilies. Mm-hmm. And I also still love the slopper. I didn't grow up vegetarian, so I remember what that was like. So there are some great options for me now in the last few years. So yeah, anything with green chilies is going to be my go-to.
I love it. So when did you become a vegetarian?
So it's been almost 8 years.
And why?
Yeah, so
the whole process?
Yeah, it was just sort of, I started reading and just for many reasons, from kind of the animal side to environmental issues and just a lot of different layered issues around all of that it just seemed like the right change for me. And, a lot of what I had been reading, and because we have a great local industry around our farmers and our ranchers, and so I don't want to discredit that at all. And I think a lot of them are much better than kind of the really big, large conglomerates of how they treat not only the animals, but the employees and the environment. So I don't want to paint any broad brush strokes here, but that's really kind of what started it for me.
Is it hard to be a vegetarian in Pueblo? Or not really? Are there a lot of restaurants that...
Yeah, that's a great question. It was a lot harder when I first started. I would say we've come a long way in 8 years. And honestly, now I can pretty much go anywhere.
That's awesome. Sometimes I think about it and then sometimes I don't. So I'm just still not there.
It's Sean is a vegetarian at home. And then every now and then when he goes out, he's like, no, I want to have something. And so, it's such a personal choice. I think that it's up to everybody on what you want to do. And I'm definitely not going to, judge you when we're out to dinner, Jenny. You eat what you want.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just didn't know that about you. So that's why I was like, well, what was your reason? So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you could have dinner with a man or a woman, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
My dad. So I lost my dad. It hasn't been quite 2 years. And there's so much that's changed in my life since that happened. I would just love to talk to him about that and about who I am today. And, you think, gosh, 2 years isn't that long, but just so much has changed. And I think that there are questions, especially when you lose someone so unexpectedly, that you think, oh, I'll learn more about the family or more about, you eventually. And so I definitely would have a lot more questions for him just about his life and our family, and just want to get his advice on everything.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry to hear about your dad. I didn't know. Did you not ask a lot of questions growing up? And you're, because you do kind of feel like they're always going to be around, and then what happened?
Yeah. We were always very close, and definitely I knew a lot about him and about the family. But kind of hindsight is, as I'm looking back through his boxes of photos and just wishing I knew more about certain stories, or certain things that maybe he told me, but I don't remember so well. And, I talked to him the day before he passed away in his sleep from a unknown heart condition.
Oh my gosh,
and,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, a very life-changing time. And I definitely have changed a lot in the last 2 years. A lot happened in the last 2 years.
Right.
And so...
Was he there for your wedding?
He was, and I'm glad you asked about that because that was so special. So he died almost exactly 1 year after our wedding. But leading up to the wedding, first of all, he loved Sean. And I was always, his little girl. And so as we were starting to talk about the father-daughter dance, he said, I have an idea. We need to do something kind of different and fun. And he was kind of a shy guy in front of a crowd. And he and I ended up choreographing a full-on father-daughter dance.
Oh, I love
it.
it.
And we started out with, the nice, sweet Butterfly Kisses song. And then we went through kind of a couple different songs. So we did Thriller. We did a couple other disco songs, and we just had it all choreographed. And then we ended back on the nice, sweet note. But during the actual dance, he threw his jacket into the audience. I mean, he got so into it. That was so special. And I'm just so thankful to have those memories of us planning it together, of it being recorded, of him being there. And that was a really special, special moment.
Is it on YouTube?
It is actually.
Okay, I'm going to have to watch it after this podcast because I want to see that dance. I love a good choreographed dance.
Yes.
So. And you guys nailed it? Nothing went wrong?
No. It was so much fun. And I think it went off without a hitch.
I love it. So if you, talking about dances, if you had a song that could describe you or that is your jam, what song would that be?
Yeah, gosh, there's so many good ones. But the song that I really feel encompasses so much for me is I'm going to have to go with Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Oh, that's a good jam.
Yeah. So, it's a little cheesy, which I totally am. But it also talks about, you can't, for me, it talks about overcoming obstacles. You can overcome anything. And I certainly have in the last few years. And then on the flip side, that you can overcome for yourself, but also that I'm very loyal to the people in my circle and my family and friends, and I do anything in the world for them. And so, there's no mountain high enough or valley low enough that I'm not going to do what I can just to help them.
Oh, I love that. That's a fantastic way to to grade the whole song and talk all about it. I love it. You're just a peach. You know that?
Well, so are you.
What are 3 words that best describe you?
Loyal, dedicated, and compassionate.
I could see those 3. I love that.
Thank you.
And what's something that nobody knows about you that you're willing to share in the podcast?
I was going to say, it wouldn't be a secret anymore. I'll be a little personal here because, it's kind of a personal question. But I think I'm going to start out by saying you don't always know what somebody's going through. And so sometimes they're just trying to do their best. And so what most people don't know, except people that were really, really close to me or are close to me, that you mentioned the day of when I accepted the position with United Way, and I had come out and it became public that day. And I got to give the speech in front of, I don't know, 300
you
some
nailed
people.
it.
Oh, thank you.
I was a little nervous for you. You're like, how is she going to do? I've heard, my husband, I remember he came home and was like, we found the one. Shanna is going to be perfect. She's just so perfect. There hasn't been another person.
Oh.
And so I was dying to meet you. And then I'm like, oh, I wonder how her speech is going to go. And then you came out with this speech and I was like, well, she just killed it. Anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I thought you should know that everybody just loved you on the board. And it just was a blessing in disguise that, yeah.
Well, thank you. It was a blessing to me. But what most people don't know about that day is I had lost vision in one of my eyes that day. And it had been going on for a couple of days, and I actually had to go in for an MRI later that day to figure out what was going on. Yeah. And so, again, I just look back at, oh my gosh, there was so much. And so it was that same week I actually got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So you just never know what people are going through. And I just look back thinking, I don't know how I got through all that. That was a wild week.
Oh my gosh. So what does all that entail for you?
Yeah. So,
I would have never known.
And the reason I wanted to bring it up is just because I've wanted to be as open as I can about it, because I think it's important, especially as women, that we're able to let other women know it's okay to have struggles. Because I think sometimes,
and how can other women support you, or who else is going through the same thing?
Exactly. And so I remember when I actually made a Facebook post about it when it was MS Awareness Week, and I couldn't believe how many people reached out, both kind of publicly but also privately, saying, I had no idea, and here's what I'm going through. Thank you for sharing your story. Mm-hmm. And so, for me, I'm really fortunate. I caught it at, a place in my life where it's a pretty normal, if you're going to have kind of a normal onset, that's what I've experienced. And so, certainly it's not all easy all the time, but I'm on a great treatment plan to best, there's no cure, but to best keep it under control.
What does that treatment plan look like, if you don't mind me asking?
Not at all. So this one is actually, so they have what they call DMTs, or disease modifying treatments, or disease modifying drugs. DMT or DMD, it depends. I'm not the medical person, so don't take notes on what I just said there. But this particular treatment, it's actually an infusion every 6 months, okay. And it keeps from, the goal is to prevent any additional damage to the brain. And so it's a really cutting edge treatment. It's really amazing. And I'm fortunate that I have the ability to be on that. And I am at kind of the traditional onset age, and being a female at my age, it's actually pretty good prognosis overall. So I'm really, really lucky. And I have the kind that's probably there's a couple different kinds, and I have the better kind of the few that are out there.
Well, I'm grateful for you sharing that. That means a lot. Like I did not know that. And you talk about the last couple of years and how much has changed in your life from getting married to being CEO to losing your father. You've gone through a lot of ups and downs. How have you internally dealt with all that?
Yeah, it hasn't been easy all the time, but I think really it's important to surround ourselves with people who love us and care about us, and that's what I've done. I have an amazing support system, my husband, my family, my friends, and I don't know where I'd be without them. They have really helped me through it. And I think also just thinking about how um, my dad would be proud of what I've gone through, and or not what I've gone through, but what I've done with it and where I am, and so some of those lessons, even though he's not there, he's still with me, and my grandmothers who had a big influence on me, that passed away just actually that same year, and so having them and what they taught me as a kid and all the way through, into my 30s, that has really helped me as well. But I think at the end of the day, having people surrounding you is really important, and I've learned that more than ever in the last few years.
But I'm sure you've had a lot of good days and bad days. What do you do for bad days besides just surrounding yourself with friends? Is there something you do for self-care just to help, get you through it?
Yeah. So, I try to, do what I can to keep myself, physically healthy, eating well. I really should renew my membership over at Snap, but
Slacker.
I know.
Do you live out in Pueblo West?
I do.
Oh, well, then you don't have a reason not to.
No.
I need a workout buddy. So that's the only way I make it to the gym.
I had a membership for a really long time and it never got used. And so I need to do that. So I need accountability. So
Yeah,
maybe you can help me with that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I don't do enough of that, but I try to do that, things that keep me active, and I do a lot of projects, and I think that is really helpful. And I think something else that we have to really take care of ourselves, not only physically, but mentally. Mm-hmm. And so finding ways to, to have those activities that bring us peace, but also not be afraid to seek out professional help when needed. And I think, therapy is amazing. I think everybody probably should be in therapy.
Oh, absolutely.
But especially when you go through so many life changes, and it's like, we'd bring in a professional to help us with other things. So let's do that, and let's not be ashamed of it. And so all of those things, so having the people around me, but also the support, and also trying to find time to do things that, bring me joy. And that can be as simple as just having an evening off to hang out with the cats and the dogs. And, or it can be looking forward to upcoming trips with fabulous people like the Smith family, those kinds of things, just to keep
filling your cup.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something our society definitely struggles with, is getting that mental help, especially this last year, going through a whole pandemic. And if people were getting the help they needed, I know Matt and I have got marriage help in the past, and I'm not ashamed to even say it, just because, when you're a young family and have kids and businesses and trying to juggle it all, but it helps. And I don't think it's something to be ashamed of. I think it's good that people take advantage of it and they know they need it, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I hope anybody listening will just say, maybe it's my turn to sign up, and we'll see where it goes.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that too. And yeah, think about it. We go to the gym to strengthen our bodies. We will, right, Jenny?
We'll try.
We will.
I got my little lunch lady arms right here.
I have some work to do, but why not strengthen our minds, right? And so that just makes us more mentally strong. So thank you for sharing that too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You talk about mentally too, and what do you do for knowledge? Like, what do you do to grow in that area? Do you read books? What's one of your favorite books that you would recommend?
Yeah, so I don't read nearly as much as I would like to, but,
Me too.
But there's still, the internet's an amazing resource with articles and videos, but I think also surrounding ourselves with good mentors. That is a huge part of how I grow. And
who are some of your mentors?
Yeah, so I have a lot of people who I surround myself with that I learn from. But since college, Dr. Trish Orman and Shelley Morskinny with the President's Leadership Program, which is the the program that I still, teach in. And so they were my professors, but now they're colleagues and friends, but also mentors. Mikey Salardino is an amazing friend.
He's all right.
Mentor. He's, everybody loves Mikey.
Yeah.
And then, just so many, probably too many to name, but those are a few that I've really kept close and talked to about, what could be done and how can I grow.
And do you just have a cup of tea? Do you go to lunch? I mean, how does somebody go about like finding their mentor that they want to learn and grow from? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, so I wish there was more of the tea and the lunches, but sometimes it's just a phone call of, talk me through this, or what advice do you have? And so, yes, there are the lunches or, the happy hours that happen, but I think also just having that ability to reach out when you're like, I'm stuck.
And it's okay to say, hey, I'm stuck. And it's okay to be like, I don't have the answer to everything, so I am going to call. And so many people will be too proud. I'm always like, I don't know, but let me find out.
Yes.
Somebody else will, right?
Yes. And that's so powerful, right? Because we don't have to have all the answers. And I think as women, sometimes we feel like we do, or we'll be seen as, less than, or weak, or we don't know what we're doing. But no, we don't all have the answers, and it's okay to acknowledge that. And I think it makes us even stronger by saying, you know what, I don't know, but I'm going to find out. And I know the people who I can ask to find out. And that there's so much strength in that. And I've always had a lot of really great women around me too, which I think, of course I mentioned Shelly and Trish, but, a whole great group of women that I've had surrounding me and that I can call for advice. And there's a lot of power in having that kind of support.
Have you found that your circle has changed throughout the years?
It has. And it's kind of interesting, when thinking about a circle. And I think it's also dependent on what's going on in life, or, what part of my life it is. So I feel like I have lots of different circles, and some of them overlap, and some of them are tighter, and some of them are bigger. And it just depends. But I kind of think of it as, what were those like stencil thing, when you kind of all those
the
circles.
Venn diagram or whatever it was with the two circles and then
I don't
know.
Yeah, and then there was that cool thing we had as kids to like draw cool.
The stints. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? That's kind of how I see it in my mind. Like there's just different. There's not one, but great people in my life haven't gone away, but sometimes those relationships shift and change, and I think that's okay. That's part of growth, and figuring out, how your circle is for right now may not be how it looks later. But it doesn't mean that you're losing anyone. It's just that it's shifting depending on where everybody is. And sometimes people get really busy and have to, they have families, and, and so maybe they're, not as, you don't talk to them every day. But I mean, I have friends where we can go, weeks, months, and pick up the phone, and it's like we haven't missed a beat.
What advice would you give a young female who is aspiring to be, it doesn't even have to be in the nonprofit world, but just a leader in general? What advice would you give them? They're just getting out of college or high school. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, so I would say never settle. Don't sell yourself short. You are capable of so much more than you probably even realize. And so, again, surrounding yourself with people that remind you of that are really important. And, I think it was Andrea who said it, be bold. And I loved that when I heard her podcast, because it's so true. And I'll go back to the, quote of do something that scares you, because I was pretty scared jumping into United Way. I mean, especially after that many years of strong leadership, and it's a big role, and, we can't be afraid. We can be afraid, but we can't let that stop us.
Right. Because look at you now, and look how much you've grown, I'm sure, just in this position alone.
Absolutely. I've learned so much, and there are days I still, oh gosh, I don't know how I'm going to do that. And I've talked to Andrea, and I've talked to other women.
That's why I was curious if you guys, because I know she was going to step away, and,
Yeah, but she's been very gracious of, I'm here, but I don't want to be, too overwhelming, but I'm here for you. And certainly we've had conversations, and, she laughs that there were, probably a couple years where she, had moments of, I can't do this. And I'd be lying if I said there weren't ever days where it's like, I can't do this. There's just so much and so much to learn and so much to figure out. But the beauty is that we can do this. And it goes back to having those great support systems, so when I'm feeling stuck or feeling like I can't do this today, that I can call up somebody and they're going to say, no, you have to, and you're going to, and here's some suggestions on how to do that.
I love it. What else do you have in store for yourself? I mean, you have some big goals and you achieve them. What's next?
Oh gosh, that's such a big question and such a great question. Right now I am just pouring my heart into everything United Way and doing what we can to better serve our community, identifying gaps. I mean, COVID, I think, just shined a light on so much, not necessarily new issues in our community, but certainly growing issues and how important an organization like United Way is in the community. And so I am really committed to, continuing and growing the work that we do. We are getting ready to start our strategic planning process. And I am just so excited to talk about not only who we are right now, but who we're going to be in a year, 3 years, 5 years down the road and what that looks like. And so I think we're going to have, big things in store.
She just said strategic planning was really fun. She's looking forward to it. So she's passionate about an organization if she says that, right?
That's right. Well, to me, it's all about what could be. And that inspires me. That makes me want to get up and, do this work every day, and really be passionate about it. And because it can be hard. I mean, it can be very hard. It's, fundraising is a lot of work. Some of the stories we hear, they're not all the student body presidents of, the mentoring program, although most of our mentoring stories have really great success stories. But you hear about some of the most challenging issues in the community, from housing to homelessness to young families not having the basic supports they need, and it can be hard. And so I think that, thinking about strategic planning about what could be is exciting, because that's where we need to go to support our community in the next many years to come.
I love it. I love your ambition and your passion towards all of it, and you have found the position for you. So I'm glad you're doing the work you're doing, and thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I don't know, but I do kind of know the amount of work and hours and hustle you have to put into an organization like United Way. And I thank you for all the work you do, because it's very important to our community.
Well, thank you, Jenny. And thank you for all you do. I know you're very involved in a lot of causes, and I know CASA is very near and dear to your heart. Yes. And, Matt is he is Mr. United Way.
He is Mr. United Way.
I will never forget. I don't remember what luncheon it was, but I remember he came off the stage after talking about United Way, and this was well before me, and he just starts hugging the crowd. And I'm like, that guy. And I hadn't met Matt yet. I'm like, I want to know that guy, because I feel his passion. And so, I oftentimes think about, what would Matt do, like energy-wise, and how would he come out and do that? But it wouldn't be possible without, the Matts of the world and our board of trustees and our amazing staff. And we just have great people around us supporting the mission.
Y'all have always had a fantastic board and a fantastic staff to make it work. So that is so awesome. I love you, and I'm so blessed to get to know you better. What, can I ask you how old you are?
Yeah, I am 34. I'll be 35 next month.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So you were 32 and CEO of United Way.
Yes.
You go, girl.
Oh, thank you. I mean, talk about...
How fantastic is that?
It was just an honor. Absolute honor. And I feel so blessed to
I'm
be...
a little older than you. I'm surprised we never crossed paths growing up.
How old are you?
36.
How did we never cross paths?
I don't know.
Well, we're going to make up for it, because I love you too. And we have lots of catching up to do and making up for all those lost years, because you grew up in Pueblo, I grew up in Pueblo, and maybe somewhere along the way
we
crossed.
I got nothing. Well, Miss Shanna, what does the word influential mean to you?
Influential means, to me, somebody who's out there making a difference for the better. And, especially when we talk about influential women, strong, caring women wanting to make an impact for the better.
Well, Miss Shanna, I appreciate your time today. You are making our community better. You are making women better. And you are strong and influential in so many ways. So thank you for being here today, and I look forward to doing another one soon.
Awesome. Me too. And thank you, Jenny. You are such an influential woman, and so proud of all the work that you're doing.
Thank you. That means a lot. All right. That's a wrap.